Hey everyone, good morning. We are going to talk all things Hurricane Isaias this morning. Again, we do this weekly weather outlook every single Friday. Today, of course, everyone wants to know what's going on in the tropics, so that's going to be the focus for today's video. Feel free to say where you're watching from. Feel free to say hello. Have this up both on my Facebook page as well as our WMBB main page. And gonna really just hop right into it. If you have any questions throughout the video, as always, feel free to post them below. Hopefully I'll be able to answer them throughout just the coverage, but if I don't, I'll go back at the end and answer them. So again, talking all things hurricane as of late last night, Hurricane Isaias. All right. Looking like we're getting a couple people on. I'm just going to wait just a few more seconds. Okay, so right now we have high pressure set up over the Gulf of Mexico, and so I'm also going to touch base if you're watching from the Panhandle. Let's just start by clearing this up. We will not see impacts. We will not experience impacts from Hurricane Isaias. We will actually stay rather dry. In fact, this weekend our rain chances will be below what average rain chances are for the end of July to early August. So as we progress into the weekend, we will actually continue to stay in the clear of Hurricane Isaias. But of course, as we progress, this will be a different story for the east coastline of Florida. So on SatRed this morning, you can see high pressure set up over the Gulf of Mexico. That's what's going to keep us very, very dry, very, very calm. And then, of course, you can see Hurricane Isaias this morning pushing north of the Caribbean, pushing northwest, a little bit slower than in the past couple of days. I also want you to focus in on the high that's really swirling over the Atlantic. So this is what's going to steer Isaias northwest. You have this semi-permanent Bermuda high, this high pressure system moving clockwise. That's where you're really getting much of the upper level steering for this system. So this morning it was looking pretty organized. We did see some organization overnight, some intensification, so that's why we were dealing with Tropical Storm Isaias, and now we do have Category 1 Hurricane Isaias this morning. So producing that heavy rain, flash flooding, that threat for the Bahamas over the course of the afternoon and early evening. It's moving northwest at 16 miles per hour, has slowed just a little bit more. This is, there's bad news and there's good news. We've actually seen Isaias battling some moderate wind shear. So wind shear is notorious for fighting and impeding on the development of tropical systems, so that hasn't been good news for Isaias. This continues to want to grow. The vertical wind shear is not really enabling it to rapidly do so. So what we're seeing is 75 mile per hour sustained winds. This morning it was at 80. So some minor weakening this morning. Max wind gusts are up to 90 miles per hour. This morning they were up to 100 miles per hour. So also weakening in that. I do want to double check on questions just throughout this video. So as this continues to progress north and west, we do have some things that are in our favor, some things that aren't. When I say are, I'm referring to the U.S. Again, the Panhandle will not experience any impacts whatsoever from Isaias. So we have seen some of that weakening, hasn't really had to battle a whole lot aside from some of that shear, really. So a little bit of dry air, but really this system is still expected to intensify slightly. Approaching the east coastline here, you can see the spaghetti models, a really good consensus. We were kind of waiting for different pieces to the puzzle of this. So earlier this work week, we didn't see that defined center. Well, then we know the Hurricane Hunters aircraft found that finally, so we got the name, Isaias. And then we were waiting to see how it interacted with what's referred to as the hurricane graveyard. That is, of course, the mountainous terrain through areas like the Dominican Republic. Problem is, it didn't really interact that much with it. So because of that, they was able to intensify overnight. And then this morning, battling some of that wind shear, that's why we were really seeing kind of intensification and then minor weakening. Slight shift to the west as well. Obviously, that's not good news for the East Coast. They are going to have to monitor this system very, very closely. On atmospheric moisture, you can see it did have a little bit of dry air to battle, but not a whole lot in the way of this system. So as it progresses through the Bahamas, some people may be wondering, will land interaction play a role in that? Honestly, the Bahamas don't really do a whole lot in terms of weakening the system. They will really take on heavy rain, flash flooding, things of that nature. We start to see those impacts in Florida, not the Panhandle again, but in Florida through the east coastline starting overnight tonight. So that's why hurricane watches are up. This is portions of Palm Bay, Port St. Lucie, West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale. So if you have friends or family on the Atlantic side of Florida, again, not the Gulf side, they're dealing with a heat advisory. If you see those oranges, that is not tropical storm watches, that's not hurricane watches, that's a heat advisory. So really anyone on the Gulf coastline in Florida is dealing more so with heat, quite frankly, this weekend. We are dodging a heat advisory in the Panhandle. It's going to be very, very hot Saturday and Sunday, so keep that in mind. But yeah, if you have friends or family out east, they certainly need to be watching the system closely, preparing, etc. So they are under that heat hurricane watch and tropical storm watch. All right, here's the National Hurricane Center official forecast cone. This has been updated as well. Just reading through some of these comments. Okay, so with the official cone, we actually have seen some weakening. So this morning, we saw that original forecast cone before we got the 10 a.m. update. We were still expecting Isaias to become a Category 2. So Category 1 maintained now. Certainly a strong and Cat 1 by tomorrow morning, still expected to be 90 miles per hour right now. Isaias is barely clinging to Category 1 status, so just on the brink of weakening back down to a tropical storm. So this is still expected to intensify. It did take a minor hit this morning. It's still expected to intensify. You can see majority of Florida, majority of Georgia, outside of the cone of uncertainty. Obviously, you can feel those impacts outside of the cone. The Panhandle, we will experience absolutely nothing from this system. Cannot reiterate that enough. However, the east coastline here, yeah, this is a system worth paying very close attention to, especially even the Carolinas. So North Carolina, they're looking at potentially a landfall heading into the early portions of next week. So the Atlantic side of Florida has to pay close attention to this through the weekend. Obviously, it's going to be a really close call here as this progresses, really hugging that coastline there, and then starting to the early of next portions of next week, the Carolinas have to pay really close attention to what will likely then have weakened to tropical storm Isaias again. The Northeast even, this continues. So this is even a system people are still talking about all up along the East Coast, even through Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. This system will be clearly long gone from the deep south area, but Wednesday morning, 65 mile per hour sustained winds. So that's back down to a strong and tropical storm. So all of this to say, this is something that will be an issue out east for the Florida Panhandle because of this system. I do want to go back and show you kind of what we're dealing with. Basically, we're going to stay dry. We're going to stay very, very warm this weekend. Here's our setup. So high pressure stays in control today, tomorrow, even into Sunday. So temperatures are not going to hold back. Our story this weekend will be a lot less about Isaias and a lot more about just plain summertime heat. So temperatures will be shy of the triple digits. It will be the upper 90s out. We'll have those mornings getting into the 70s, but rain chances will be very, very slim. Again, said this to start off the video. They will actually be slimmer than our average rainfall for this time of year. So I do want to take a second and see if I can answer any questions. All right. Let's see. I'll pop up the cone again so you can see that. Alright, Jean from Freeport, Florida watching, Janice from Dothan watching, Katie's watching from Orlando, Janice watching. Yeah, a lot of people saying, you know, this doesn't really impact the Panhandle, why cover it? Really, a lot of people have friends and family on the East Coast, a lot of people have friends and family from Miami through Fort Lauderdale, a lot of people, of course, just staying in the loop with the tropics in general. Hopefully, at the very least, this was kind of... you know, at one point the track was further west. Obviously, that was fairly irrelevant because we didn't have a well-defined center at that point. Hopefully, this kind of gets especially new people to the area into that mindset of, if I haven't already prepared for hurricane season, we are well into the midst of it. But hopefully, this gets you in the mindset of getting that hurricane kit ready. Obviously, if you've lived here for years, you don't need any tips on getting ready for hurricane season. But especially if you know someone that's new to the area, help them out. But yes, this system we will stay completely clear of in the Florida Panhandle. Obviously, you want to give your friends and family a heads up on the East Coast. Those tropical storm watches, hurricane watches up as well already for people in the areas like West Palm Beach. All right, I don't see any questions. We'll continue to update you on midday coming up here in about 25 minutes. But again, this weekend, just hot, humid, find a way to stay cool, and we will either see you on midday coming up in just a little bit, or we'll see you next week. All right, have a great weekend, everyone.